The most important person in the whole wide world is you, and you hardly even know you. The most important person in the whole wide world is you. Come on, we'll show you. Let's find out more about the things you feel and do, 'cause you're the most important person in the world to you.
Hello, 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 and welcome to One for All is Love with Sonya Spirit, and I am Sonya Spirit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you might have noticed, you may or may have not, noticed that we have moved. We have moved from our Happy Hump Day on Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:30 Mountain Standard and Pacific Daylight Time. We have moved to Sundays. Now, it will not be Sundays at 1 p.m. It will be Sunday at 9 a.m. And the reason why is because, of course, I love mornings. By the afternoon, So Sunday morning. And I'm not quite sure if we're going to rebrand the title of the show. It's always going to be One for All is Love because, hey, that's the name of the game, baby. It's all, yeah. From me, there should be love for all. Okay. All right. So today's topic, well, before I even get started, for any of you who may or may not follow me, I delivered a sermon earlier today for Rise Church Atlanta, and it was on Facebook Live, so feel free to replay that and see what else Rise has to offer, because it is a great place of worship. That's where I went to school initially to get my credentials in ministry and seminary. So yes, it was a very valuable education. And more than that, though, it was really a lesson in connectivity as well for me. Now, everyone's experience is different. And, of course, that's the name of the game on this show. You know, it's all about experience, how we process our experiences. And what's critical, of course, to processing experiences is perspective, okay? So earlier, as I was mentioning, I delivered a sermon for Rise Church, and it was online via Facebook Live. And the title of the sermon was Have No Fear, Faith is Here. Now, for all of my One for All listeners, you know, I am a staunch proponent of faith because faith is actually like the groundwork or foundation for getting us to be able to behave in such a way to do everything in love or to elevate our frequency so that certain energies cannot exist on that level. You know, so much that I really wanted to speak on in terms, but, you know, the sermon is 30 minutes. So, you know, there's a lot of information that cannot be packed into 30 minutes. But anyway, so going on to the elevation, you know, or frequency. I said elevation, but elevation is the direction that we're going in or our objective. But the frequency for love is 500. So let's say if there was a scale from 0 to 1,000, so to speak. So, love actually begins at the frequency of 500, which is interesting. And so from 500 to 1,000 would basically be those frequencies in which, like, negative energy can't exist or can't express itself, okay? So, you know, fear operates at a frequency of 100. Okay, and love operates at a frequency of 500. Now, of course, more than love, I really do want to kind of focus on faith because faith is really one of the main ingredients to grow love or get us to a love status. Okay, But the name of this show is Onward and Upwards, but it's all about, everything ties in together. So, of course, Onward and Upwards is not a Disney film, but it is about raising our frequency. It is about elevating at the level our vibration. We need to increase our vibration, and this is done organically. Okay, what does that mean? That means we have to do the work. Okay, and it can be done, and it can be done easily. It's really all about what you put into it. We hear this all the time, but these are just not empty words. They have meaning. It is what you put into it. You get out of it what you put into it. You don't have enough time, you won't get much out of it. And you'll be the first one to say that this doesn't work for me. Of course it doesn't work. So one of the things is, look, you will find whatever it is that you seek. Not you will seek and find. You will find whatever it is you seek. So if you're making claims like, oh, this doesn't work, of course it's not going to work for you. And now you may believe that to be true of everyone. This doesn't work. That's a blanket statement. And, of course, if you try to put whatever it is into practice, 9 times out of 10, 9 times, not all, and there's a reason for why not all, but 9 times out of 10, it probably won't work for you. That's the energy you put out there. Now, why would it work a 10th time if 9 times out of 10 you put out negative energy and it would come back fruitful, so to speak, return to you with fruit? That's because whatever negative energy you put out and something returns with fruit, that's not you. Okay, that's the universe. The universe is trying to put you back on track. Okay? Guidance. All right, so onward and upward. Like I said, it's all about elevating the frequency through our thoughts and feelings. Okay, so, earlier I said I was talking about faith, and it was a great sermon. You have to listen to it. I'm not going to rehash that sermon. But, of course, there will be a lot of spillover, but this is not more so from just a spiritual or a biblical perspective, but it's all encompassing. Okay, so let's get on to onward and upwards. Remember I said whatever you seek, you will find. So you'll find whatever it is that you seek. So if you're looking for a shortcut, a gimmick, or if you think that something is a gimmick, then that's what you will find. You will find that it is gimmicky. So you'll be less inclined to believe it. Remember, these are parameters that we put inside our own head. Okay, we don't give something an opportunity to work because we've already made up in our minds that this is a certain way. And I did speak on that because we hinder ourselves. We limit ourselves through our thoughts. Listen, if you can't open up your imagination and allow it to exercise, to think things that are unimaginable. Okay, unimaginable doesn't mean horrific. It's not synonymous terms. Unimaginable is just something you can't even possibly fathom. That's all what unimaginable means. So from person to person, it'll be different. Because what I feel is unimaginable, you may not agree with, and vice versa. Okay? So that's all unimaginable is something beyond the parameters of your imagination, the boundaries of your imagination, even though imagination itself is limitless. There are no boundaries. Okay? There are no restrictions, only the ones we impose on ourselves. Only the ones we impose on ourselves. Okay? And once we get into oneness, oh my goodness, the vibration, the divine energy of spirit. Woo! So listen, when I was talking about faith, oh my goodness. And okay, now I am a touch a little bit. I mean, faith is like, words can't even describe what faith is, but faith is like, so it's a confidence and it's a knowing. But when like in the service, it's like, it's a comfort. It's almost like, it's like a hug, a kiss, an embrace from your grandmother or your mother when you were a little kid and you fell down and you knew everything was going to be all right, or your dad who always made you feel like everything would be all right, or your big brother who stood up for you at school. Comfort, that security. That's faith is that. Listen, faith is that security. Okay, but. And you can get there, and you are the only one who can get you there. Now, ruminate on that. You are the only one who can get you there because, as I mentioned earlier today, that seed exists in each and every one of us, but it's up to each and every one of us individually to develop our own seed, to unfold our seed into a plant. Through our attention, through our love, we are nourishing it so that our faith can grow. Okay. So, and why is all of this important? Because as we go through, so now we're going into the last quarter of the year, the calendar year. Okay. And not to get too hung up on that, but I mean, all of this represents something. So we're moving into the last quarter of the calendar year, and faith is a very strong message. Okay, I am getting the message of faith, and it has been a very strong message, probably for the past. Well, it's been a very strong message for a long time, but I want to say in the past week and a half. I don't want to say haunting because that's negative, but it has certainly been on weighing. It has been weighing, okay? And not in a burdensome or worrisome type of way, but it's, the words can't even convey the message that was trying to be sent in terms of faith was concerned. So, but let's go on. So think about this, and I don't really talk a lot about the Bible here, but, think of the Bible as a book of stories for our spiritual development, our spiritual growth, our spiritual journey, trek, okay? And then allow it to speak to you and nurture you. And support you and encourage you, and everything is not going to resonate with you. And what resonates with you may not resonate with someone else. And that was something else I kind of spoke on earlier. Listen, don't be afraid to take the scriptures and let them speak to you. Okay, it may not be in the context of the story that's in the Bible. That scripture may speak to you because it applies to a story that's in your life. Okay, so as I was talking about, faith as a foundation and building a foundation based on 4 strong cornerstones. And so for me, I have 4 scriptures that are 4 strong cornerstones, and that is Exodus 3:14. I take out I am that I am, because that reminds me God is everything. Everything, everything. God is everything, anything, and nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean no thing, no one thing. God is everything, including us. Okay. And eventually this is going to sink in. It is going to sink in. There's nothing outside of ourselves, and there is nothing that is outside of God. Now, the problem, of course, like I said, that we have as humans is when we see, because we are human, so we're on a lower frequency than where God resides, okay? We're on a different frequency, and at the frequency, even though we're made up of the same energy, but at the frequency that we vibrate, we can allow polarities or opposites to be expressed. So, good and bad. Evil doesn't exist at the level that God vibrates. Fear doesn't exist at the level that God vibrates. But it does for man, okay? It does for man. Fear does exist. So does faith. So does free will. So we can choose to be faithful or fearful. See how easy that is? And it's a matter of perspective. It's just as easy to be faithful than it is to be fearful. The only thing is we've already been conditioned to be fearful. So it is easier by default, but it doesn't mean it's more natural. And we can kick that habit too. So, so deciding to become more faithful over fearful, one or the other. Listen, if you're going to be fearful, you are going to be out there on your own. And the reason I say that is because in fear there is everything that's adverse. You know, there is lack, there is scarcity, there is fear, there is intimidation, insecurity, ignorance. There is judgment. There is ugly. There is untrustworthiness. There is lying. There is falsifying, bearing false witness. So all of these things exist on man's level because man vibrates at a different level. Man, as a physical being, vibrates on a different level. However, man as a physical being is not just composed of being a physical being. Man is also comprised of consciousness, the sound mind, consciousness. And consciousness elevates on any level. But you got to be there with it. Okay? It can vibrate on any level because God vibrates at any and all levels. But everything doesn't get expressed in any and all levels. Okay, that's why we were talking about the vibrations and the hierarchy of vibrations before. Let's see, frequencies. So shame vibrates at 20, hertz? I'm not sure. Whatever the frequency range is for this. Guilt at 30, apathy at 50, grief at 75, fear at 100, desire at 125. And that's interesting because you can use desire to work for you and not against you. Anger at 150, pride 175, courage at 200. Something else you can use for you and not against you. Neutrality opens up at 250, willingness at 310, acceptance at 350, reason at 400, love at 500, joy at 540, peace at 600, and enlightenment from 700 to 1,000. And let me tell you what's interesting about that. They don't even get into details between 700 and 1,000. It's just enlightenment. Now, if you think of the 300 and below, we had shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, courage, neutrality, and finally willingness at 310. So underneath willingness are all these other characteristics or qualities or traits that, of course, our of course, opens us up to express things at lower frequencies or vibrations. Okay, so but all of this is a matter of perspective. So going back to experiences, we have experiences. How we perceive these experiences, what filter we use, determines whether or not we grow from these experiences, what the outcome is. Okay, and the future outcome. If we learn and grow from each experience, regardless of how heinous it may be, if we learn and grow from each experience, we grow what we're learning and growing. We're growing our consciousness. Our consciousness is expanding, okay? And as our consciousness expands, so does our faith, okay? So does our faith. Okay. Anyway, because the reason as your consciousness grows, so does your faith, is because you're experiencing things. And what is faith again? Knowing. You're experiencing things, so you know how it works now. You have a point of reference. And you need to keep a treasure chest of points of reference, or a treasure chest of experiences which have made you a better person, which has enriched your life, regardless of the experience. So I was speaking earlier when we were having our Zoom meeting after the service, and that's where anyone can join in with any questions. But after we had the Zoom meeting after the service, I just lost my train of thought again. It's all about, elevating ourselves, elevating our consciousness. The oneness of consciousness is to be in oneness with God. Not so God can do stuff for us. That is not what this trip is about. So if that's what you have in mind, listen, you might want to ring the bell, honey, and get off the bus, because this is not going in the direction you want it to. Ultimately, yes, we have the power to create, and we have the power to create and manifest our own reality, and we can do that. And we can do it, and we should practice it with our thoughts. Okay? The life that you want, think about what it is that you want. So, for example, if you're looking to move, or you have to move, or your circumstances has changed and you need to move, and yet you don't feel you're in the best position to move, you can think of a lot of reasons why now is not the right time. Okay? That is a rational part of yourself. However, if you are being encouraged to move, and if you'll know, because things will happen that'll put you in that position. You can put it off and wait for when you feel like it's an ideal time to make a move, but that is not how spirit works. And don't lean on your own limited understanding. This is what it means by do not lean on your own understanding, because what happens is, as a mortal, as a human, we get hung up on the how. Okay? How can this possibly happen? I don't see how this can happen. How could that actually, how can this happen? We really get stuck up at that part, at how something can transpire. And yet, we can believe in magic, we can believe in miracles, we can believe in air, something that we can't see, but we can't imagine how something can happen that is beyond our comprehension. That's all the more reason why you don't depend on your own, you don't lean on your own understanding, because it is limited. And oftentimes it's faulty. Now, I'm not saying it's always faulty, but it is limited because we're limited. And if we weren't, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast, because you'd be way past this level. Okay? What I'm talking about would be way beneath you. when you are in full faith, the obstacles that are presented to you, there won't be a concern. And this isn't arrogance. So please understand the difference between faith and arrogance. This is not arrogance. There is not a concern about something working out. You don't concern yourself with the how because you know that's not your job. Focus your energy on what you're supposed to focus your energy on, whether it's the outcome or what you're supposed to do, pick up the ball once you get to that point. But don't hinder the process with your limited capabilities. Is really what it boils down to. Okay. So the confidence, the knowing, overconfidence. So let's talk about faith just a little bit. So, faith is something that you grow, you build, and it gets stronger. Okay, it's almost like a frequency. It gets stronger. Okay, and it feels good. I cannot even explain enough what faith feels like. It's like warm sunshine on a cool spring day. Okay, sorry, having some thoughts there. Anyway. Okay, family, let's continue. So, of course, I've also been speaking about, so I call them the four cornerstones now. My four cornerstone scriptures. I am that I am, like I said, Exodus 3:14, because it tells you, it reminds you that God is everything and no one thing. And it's all inclusive, it's all encompassing. And yes, it's still quite complex. Okay? But I am that I am. I am everything, and I am every possibility of anything. And then on top of that, I am no one thing. So don't worship me as a cross or a crystal. All of these things are just tools or remembrances of who and what we truly are a part of. Okay? Who and what we truly are a part of. That's what they are. That's what these are. Tools. Okay? Reminders. Okay, so, and then, of course, the second verse, or my second cornerstone, is, with men, this is impossible. With God, all things are possible. Like I said, don't get caught up on how. And I've said these verses many times before. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. And to do everything in love. And I even spoke on it, I think maybe a couple of weeks ago when the show was still on Hump Day Wednesday. That faith and harmony equals love. If you take the emotional element out of love, it will leave you with faith and harmony, the confidence to know, and the willingness to surrender. And you meditate on that, family. The confidence to know. You know you in the presence of God. You know all things are possible. You know you co-create with your consciousness. You know that you attract, receive, embody, and express God's gift, God's inspiration, God's will. You certainly have it in you. Now, whether or not you do it is entirely up to you. Choice, free will, family, free will. free will, which means you have to take the first step. That's what the word initiate means. Initiate. Take the first step. Let's see what we got here for initiate. Cause a process or action to begin. You have to take the first step. Initiate yourself. Grow your seed of faith. Shower your seed of faith with your attention, with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your energy. Nurture your faith. Watch your faith grow strong. Listen, your faith. Yes, your faith starts out as a seedling, and if you nourish it, develop it, grow it, your faith will be your internal superhero. Stir up the gift of God. Stir up the gift of God which is in you. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. Give I unto you. Give I unto you. Okay, family. Let's keep going. Okay, so I do want to talk about the fact that we're at the headed towards the end of the quarter. And the reason the message of faith has been so strong is because faith is what gets us through trying times. When there is friction, tension, adverse experiences, we often lose sight of the purpose that these events or experiences serve. And it's easy to lose sight when you're directly involved, Like I said, when it comes to lessons, the first thing we scream and holler is why? Why did this happen to me? Why am I the one having this? Why do I have to go through this? Why couldn't, this happen to someone else? Why my husband? Why my wife? Why my mother? Why my father? Why my son? Why my daughter? Why? Why my beloved? Or why me? But this is what we go through. This is the question that we entertain when there is an adversity. And like I said, when we're having adversities, that's when we scream out, how? How do I learn and grow? How do I be a better person? What is the lesson to be gained? These are the questions that we want the answer to because we want to be better people. We don't want to sit around whining and complaining about why something happened to us. It happened and it serves a purpose. God don't make mistakes. There are no mistakes. There are learning opportunities. And we agree to these experiences so we can become better people. We agree to them on the front end. Then we get on the back end, some of us, get amnesia and don't recall or not paying attention again. Listen, if our consciousness picks up where we left off when we die or get recycled, however you want, whatever term you want to use, you feel comfortable with, then it behooves us to get as far ahead as possible, speaking consciously wise, or elevating as high as possible. Okay? Emanating as far or elevating as high as we possibly can. So when we do return, I know I don't want to make the same stupid mistakes I've made in this lifetime. I certainly don't want to be at this level. I want to keep elevating. And once you feel the difference, you'll want to keep elevating too. And it's not even, it is a feeling of calmness. It is a feeling of peace. It is a feeling of security or comfort. And that's because of the confidence, because you know, you understand. So you've gained some understanding. Okay? You understand that, first of all, listen, I'm a part of something that is inconceivable. And it's certainly unexplainable to the average person. And all of that doesn't even matter because this has nothing to do with intelligence or how perceptible someone is. This is all about a willingness, wanting to be better. Just be better. I thought there was an and, but there isn't. Just wanting to be better and be of service to others. But to be of service to others means that you are being a better person. So it all stems back to one thing, just being a better person. Being the best person that you can be. Being the best expression of God. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. That's why they keep saying how you show up in the world. How do you represent God in this world? And listen, don't point to what other people are doing. That's irrelevant. That's childish. That's stuff the kids do. Well, he's doing it, so you ain't say nothing to him. Listen, what is that? That's ignorance and insecurity. Being an adult is recognizing that this is not the best course of action, the only course of action, and it requires a change of course of action. That's what the adult does. The child wants to get away with as much as it can get away with until it's forced to change. And I'm not saying this of all children, because all children are not created equal. But what I'm saying is to initiate, get back to the word initiate, is to cause the process to begin. The process begins within. Only you can initiate yourself. Now, God can certainly send plenty of messengers along the way to help guide you. Help guide you, grow your faith. But the first step is from you. It's got to be what you want. And generally, when this takes place, somebody has noticed their seed. They have noticed their seed of faith that is infinitesimally small, such as a grain of sand on a beach. But they have awakened the spirit of that seedling. They have paid it some attention. This reminds me of the what I'm thinking, the way this is unfolding in my mind. It reminds me of the movie Life that I've mentioned so many times, not Eddie Murphy, but Jake Gyllenhaal, in which this virus or life form, so to speak, survives, chooses to survive. First of all, it's instigated into movement or activation through what appears to be electronic prodding. But once it is stimulated or turned on, so to speak, and now, and you can tell it is alive, and it has a desire to live. It has a will to live. And so does our faith when it gets activated. Now, faith is not overpowering, but it can certainly get your attention. But faith is often a subtle energy until it's not anymore. And when it's not negative. It's not something adverse. It's not negative. It really is a feeling. Well, for me, it is a feeling of calm and soothing. It is a feeling of confidence, of knowing. I mean, the words are there, but you're trying to express it I'm trying to express it for someone who may not fully comprehend people are confident in different times of their life or different aspects of their life, or hopefully they are, and maybe they can recall. But confidence is a beautiful feeling. It really is. And I am certainly grateful for that. Because I have seen how confidence has worked for me favorably. Okay. I don't want to belabor that unless it is necessary. Okay. But so confidence, so faith, it starts with a belief. It really does begin with like a belief or trust, because a faith, of course, is confidence of knowing. It is, and it's a whole lot more than that, but a belief is an acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. It is a trust, faith, or confidence in something or someone. So, people use belief and faith interchangeably. I think belief is the prelude to faith, okay? Belief is where you begin. Belief is when you first focus your attention on faith, when faith first begins unfolding from a seedling into, let's see, what if it does first? Grows roots. So, belief is the predecessor to faith as it tries to grow roots and get firmly planted. So, actually, that makes a whole lot of sense. That belief would be the predecessor to faith. And if you think in terms of plant life or the cycle of life, a seed, generally, the first thing it does is it grows roots because it takes in water and nutrients. But it is the start. It grows roots. It gets planted. It is building its foundation. It is becoming solid. By growing these roots, they are growing out to stick. Okay? You're building a foundation. That's what belief is. It is the building of the foundation. Okay, and through that belief, I, not the big I, the little I, develop trust. And as each experience come to pass, and you understand each experience from a spiritual perspective as a lesson to grow onward and upward in understanding and in vibration. So in wisdom, in comprehension, in application. That's wisdom. So belief And once that faith is built, it is strong, it is solid, then you don't look for shortcuts anymore. You don't look for you don't look for anything. When your faith is structurally sound, you don't look for anything. Because first of all, you accept that everything is what it is. And you know that this too shall pass. But in the meantime, it serves a purpose. Well, what is that purpose? For someone, it is a lesson. And if it involves more than one person, then it's multiple lessons. Remember, we're all on our own path, and no two paths are the same, just like no two people are the same. No two perspectives are the same. But open yourself up to see things from a different way, a different perspective, a different viewpoint. Allow your mind to breathe. Allow your consciousness to breathe. Let some fresh air in. Look, if you are recycling stale thoughts, if nothing new has entered your mind, even in a week, look, you got to vent that thing. It needs some fresh air, some fresh ideas, some fresh energy. Or no ideas at all. Allow nothing to waft through. But don't get stuck. Okay, so faith begins with belief. Faith begins with trust. You know, we talk about fake it till you make it. Practice till you perfect it. Practice belief and trust till you perfect it to faith and harmony. How about that? Okay. So, belief and faith. Then we have these experiences. And then this becomes important. Faith becomes important because then we judge or discern our experiences differently. Okay, so let's talk for a second about, so people with too little faith often allows for a seed of doubt to creep in and distort one's faith. Okay? Don't allow for doubt. Too much faith may make one foolish. Well, what do you mean by that? That is to act. What I'm talking about here is too much faith means when someone acting foolish is when they tend to act without discernment. Well, what is discernment? Discernment is understanding it's an understanding, a spiritual guidance, well-adjusted judgment, well-balanced. Well-adjusted, I think, is a psychological term, but well-balanced judgment. So that's what discernment is. So, yes, we say do not judge, but discernment is not a judgment. Discernment is more of a spiritual guidance, a spiritual understanding. So when you have too much faith, you act without discernment. You know, so for the most part, an example would be, I believe that I jump off this cliff and God won't let me die. That may or may not happen. But you may or may not know that. Now, if you know it, then you're on a whole different level. And you can easily prove it. But if you're just saying it, that I believe in God so much that I'll walk off this cliff and God won't let me die, that we would say is foolish. Because it doesn't appear that you actually have a relationship with God, more so that you just think you can plunge off into belief without any consequence. Remember, I said before, words and actions are with sequences. With sequences means consequences. So for our words, our thoughts, our actions, our emotions, they all, whichever ones we choose to entertain or express, they all come with sequences of events following them. Okay. So have no fear, faith is here, means you grow your seedling into your crusader, your cape-wearing crusader. Because you develop the energy to save yourself. And God will certainly be with you every step of the way. But everything begins within, as I've said so many times before. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to wrap up today's show. Look for me next Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 6 a.m. Mountain Standard and Pacific Daylight Time. Hopefully I'll post the show by Wednesday so you'll know what the upcoming topic is. But thank you so much for your time and attention. Enjoy your lovely Sunday. And as always, may God be with us all. Have a great day. Bye.